Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Georges River Council Sports Advisory Committee meeting. I declare the meeting open at 6 p.m. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. In regards to apologies, I have apologies from Irene Hadzipetros, Jeff Killick and Tanya Smith. Are there any other apologies? Okay. There being none, can I please have a motion to accept the apologies? Okay, moved by Councillor Moore. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lansbury. I now move the motion. All those in favour say aye. I declare the motion carried. I now move on to the notice of live streaming of council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on council's website in accordance with section 5 of council's code of meeting practice. The recording will be made available on council's website. In regards to code of meeting practice, the order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Council's code of meeting practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. I now move on to the agenda. Committee reports. The first item is SAC 016-24, endorsement of the terms of reference, and this report will be by the manager of City Life.
Good evening and thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So this report is seeking the endorsement by the Georges River Sports Advisory Committee to endorse the updated terms of reference. And the report outlines a bit of background to the terms of reference. It's the governance framework on how this committee operates, and it had been amended as a result of our previous review of the trial of the Sports Advisory Committee, and we're seeking tonight for this committee to endorse the terms of reference, which will then be the terms of reference moving forward.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I do have a question. It's not strictly related to the terms of reference, so I'm just wondering if all of the positions that were advertised have been filled, or do we still have vacancies?
Thank you for the question. Through you, the Chair. Yes, the expressions of interest process was out to seek 15 community representatives that were suitably qualified and experienced to be on the committee, and through that process we did find 15 representatives.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, there being none, I'd like to call for a mover for the report.
Move that way.
Moved by Kevin Green. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Moore. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that motion carries. I move on to the next item, being SAC 017-24, changeover of sporting seasons. This report is by the Manager of City Operational Services. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry.
And
Oh, sorry, apologies. Can I call for a mover for the report? Moved by, Julian Finch. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Please continue with the report.
thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome everybody. So this is just a very brief update on our plans for the 2025 changeover season. And if you note in your reports there, we did some maintenance works. Obviously, we do this every year around about March. So just a brief update, just to advise the summer to winter sporting code changeover process is annual. Council's Community and Culture Division, their Programming Operations Business Unit look after all the access to the field bookings for all the various codes. So my role is really just in the maintenance of the fields and that changeover period. And it's the changeover process is tailored to each site based on the turf type, service standards and the infrastructure that are at each of those sites. And that typically involves overseeing, in particular, the couch fields. So we've got about 16 fields that we do that annually, and the reason we do that is because we use rye seed because it's similar in nature to the nature of the couch grass, and it just helps. Well, the theory is that it actually helps bulk up the grass during the dormant season, and that's why we do it around about March, so that it's it just maintains a reasonable condition. So as I mentioned, we've got a relatively small window to do this. It's generally about a 2-week window every year in between the changeover of sports. And just in terms of the maintenance work, as I mentioned, what we did last year was, I can read them out quickly, but the following couch fields were overseeded with ryegrass. And that was Oatley Park, Renown Park, Beverly Hills Park, Gannons Park and Charles Pirie. And we also cover over the cricket pitches for obvious reasons. And what we have scheduled for next year again is, of course, the overseeding with the rye seed. This year, or next year, sorry, we're going to actually bring that forward a couple of weeks, just because we noticed with the wear and tear, during the soccer season, we noticed a bit of degradation there. So we're going to try and bring that forward a couple of weeks to give the fields as best a chance as they can have. So those same parks again. But also this time including Clayton Reserve. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but that's had some fairly significant patching done, about 2,000 square metres. I've personally been keeping a close eye on it, particularly as we go into the warmer months now. So it's not the ideal time to be doing it, but it was in a condition that we felt it needed some TLC, and we've done that so that it's in a good position for next year for the playing season. So that's essentially just a very brief update. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, so there are no questions. Okay. I now would like to put that motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? There being none, I declare the motion carried. Moving on to the next item, SAC 018-24, Sporting Infrastructure Capital Works Update. Can I have a mover for the motion? No. Moved by Mark Smith. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, what was his name? Seconded by Jeffrey Barron. Can the manager of Sydney Technical Services, Tom Heath, please provide a presentation on this item?
Evening all. We have a presentation up on the top screen. Just before starting, context. So I'm the manager of Capital Works for this committee, obviously I'll be providing information on the sporting infrastructure that we're constructing within this financial year. There are a few carryovers from last that we'll provide some information on, but you'll see a recurring presentation from me at each one of these meetings that provides updates on those projects. So this was a last financial year project that we're nearing completion. This is the Lower Fulton Park Public Amenities Block. We've had a couple of material delays on this with a couple of internal louvers. So from the exterior, it looks like it's finished. But from the safety perspective, we've got a couple of louvers that we're looking to be completed that were expected yesterday, and there's been a material issue. So I'll keep everyone updated on this, but it's nearing completion. Smith Park Bocce Courts. So these are 3 turf bocce courts that we've constructed. There was a demand within the bocce playing demographic within the community that they required these facilities. So we've constructed it. It's pretty innovative in terms of Smith Park is actually quite a small park. So this would have been impacting on a significant portion of general community open space. So what we've actually done is, as you can see in the image, we've constructed the perimeter court infrastructure for this with turf internally, so our maintenance crews can actually continue to mow over this, and when bocce isn't being played, the local community can kick a football in this area. There are ends that have been designed and constructed which actually slot into dowel points at the end, so bocce players can throw down and hit the right spots that need to be done. And you can see the markings on the corners here that are associated with the dimensions of a bocce court. So something a little different, but sports related, so you guys get to hear about it. Where am I pointing at? Charles Pirie Sports Lighting construction. This has actually been completed now. So this was the improvement of lighting at Charles Pirie. So it went from the main field being under lights to the whole area. This expanded the capacity for training facilities and reduction in the impact to the turf associated with strong focus of play and training in certain zones. So we're actually next Wednesday doing a demonstrative trial of these lightings. So the community is able to see what the capacity and what the expanse of lighting will be come to the winter season. So that's a pretty exciting one that's been completed. Penshurst Park operable fence construction. So this is associated with the MPL quality of play that's required at Penshurst Park. To meet the stadium requirements, we need to provide stadium infrastructure, i.e. a 1.8 metre fence around the site. This is obviously a significant community facility the remaining period of the year, so we're actually developing quite an innovative operable fence. So the render on the side is what the site would look like while it's open for community use, but you can kind of see a few walls and some fencing structures where, when it's required to be closed for an MPL 1 league game, the fences roll out and the site becomes a closed venue. So hasn't really been done before. So it's quite innovative and hence it's quite difficult to do. So we've engaged a design. We're in the process of designing and engaging a construction contractor to do this. This requires a DA based on the fact that it has consistencies with the master plan where fencing is identified, but because it's a permanent structure, it requires a DA. So there's some timing in that, but yeah, this is something that hasn't been done before, but allows a community venue to be closed at certain periods of time without impacting community use the rest of the time. Olds Park Premium Sporting Community Facility. So this is a multi-year design and construction project. We have significant grant funding from the state government towards this one. This is roughly a $7.5 million project. The facilities at Olds Park are quite degraded and don't need the facilities associated with premium AFL and cricket. So this is the construction of 4 change facilities, so it can be used by all community groups, and then the club rooms and public amenity facility on top of this. So we're at the 75% design process with this one. We're looking to go out to tender for construction in the new calendar year, with construction slated to be completed by June 26. Once we get the timeframes of construction from the tender, we'll provide updates in terms of when that's completed, but that's quite a significant bit of kit we're doing at the moment. Oh, this is going to kill me. Todd Park Sporting Amenity. So this is a community-based facility similar to Olds Park. It has degraded facilities that don't allow appropriate female change facilities and appropriate female play at the site. So we're in the process. We got some grant funding associated with only the design of this facility. So this facility, this is a render of what we're looking at doing. We'll have a club room for local community facilities, shared canteen facilities, which is something that we've heard from the Sports Advisory Committee over the previous term in terms of ensuring that canteen facilities are able to be utilised by the user of the field rather than being an enclosed facility. So we've taken that into consideration associated with the storage, also considering all site users. So this is only a design project. This project will be integrated into the Cars and Todd Park Master Plan, and from that will allow future construction as funding becomes available. Renown Park embellishments. So this is the second year of a significant bit of improvements to Renown Park. So we got state and federal grant funding associated with the improvements of Field 2 at Renown Park, which was the rugby league field. There was also an integration into where soccer was training. So this has significantly enhanced the overall drainage, irrigation and field resurfacing of Renown Park. Field 1 was done previously, so this is the completion of all turf enhancement work sites. This financial year, it's the final embellishments where we're actually doing bleacher construction for the rugby league field, similar to the ones you can see here on the soccer field. And there's also a set of stairs that's been constructed to improve access to the site. The contractor for both the bleachers and the stairs has been engaged, and we're ideally looking at that being completed prior to Christmas. But we say June 24 because, June 25 it should be anyway. But that's how we're looking to do it. So that's a really good little project that'll complete Renown Park from a full sporting facility, based on the fact that in previous financial years it had 2 change facilities constructed. The green sporting amenity. This is one where it's a multi-year project where the design is identified in this financial year with the proposed construction in next, based on council requirements to approve that funding for construction. This is a highly degraded public amenity and sporting amenity at the Green. Based on the size of this facility, it won't get the 4 change facilities for female use, but it will get the 2. But it will also include public amenities, referee change rooms, canteen and a storeroom. So that's something that we look at doing. We try to integrate where we do a design in 1 to 2 financial years and then the subsequent construction into that multiple years. We don't like to overpromise in terms of there's no capacity to do a design and construction in a financial year, so we do it as a design into a construction. This is something that we're into month 2 of the new website. So this is something that we haven't gone to the broader community with yet. We're just ensuring that it doesn't have any issues prior to that, but it's something that we're providing updates to you as one of our valuable committees. So this is the new Capital Works website, which provides all the information on all the projects that I've identified now, but the broader works that my team does. So you can see there's a map that identifies where all the locations are. You can use the QR code and click on that, go onto the web on your phone or your computer and actually go into that map and look at where across all of the LGA we're doing projects. You can then filter that by your interest factor, so which are the ones below here. So for this example, I went into the website, I clicked on sporting facilities, and that's all the information on all those projects you've just seen today. It's a nice bit of information. We keep that updated on a monthly basis, or as things are needed on a more frequent basis, but that'll allow you to get a bit of understanding of the progression of a project through its stages and when we're slating that for completion. Something else that my team do, which I have the landscape architects in terms of my team, is the Riverwood Spatial Framework analysis. So last financial year, we completed Everett Park and Pecos Park. So the idea of a spatial framework is it's a smaller scale of a master plan. All these parks, which are significant sporting and community facilities, sit under the generic plan of management, so they therefore don't have plans, they don't have master plans. But we as council obviously appreciate that infrastructure is needed at these facilities. So what my team does on a rolling basis is we assess and we investigate these projects and these sites to determine what moving forward it needs, whether that be from a community perspective or from a sporting facility perspective. So we're actually out on the Your Say at the moment for this, which is our community engagement process, where community groups, sporting facilities, the general public has the ability to provide input into what they want to see at this site moving forward. We'll take that information on board, develop a concept plan that will go back to the community for broader consultation again, and then we get to a point where we finalise what we would propose as a minor master plan for the site. Those can then be integrated into developer contribution funding opportunities and also grant funding opportunities. So if you're interested in this site, please feel free. The QR code works for this one as well, and it'll take you directly to that information point where you'll be able to provide your input on that. That closes at the end of this month, and then you'll see updates through this process as we go with that. So, yeah, but I think that is it in terms of capital works and sporting infrastructure at the moment. There is one I missed, which is a snag on the website, which we're working on, is Poulton Park Netball Court. So the third netball court there is the development of that from asphalt to concrete. They poured yesterday, so we're nearing completion, and that will be the repainting of all 3 netball courts then, and then all netball courts at Poulton Park are complete. Any questions?
Yeah, Tom, I'm Dale Witters from St George AFL. A few years ago, we contributed to the Olds Park Master Plan. Can you give us some insight into where that might be sitting at the moment, or is that tied to the construction of a new facility?
So the Olds Park Master Plan is a council endorsed master plan already. It sits within the website and our developer contributions plan. So that already exists. The redevelopment of the Olds Park Premium Sporting Facility was identified in that. A small tweak needs to be done, hence it was altered last financial year, but that's how that sits there. So that sits within our program. A capital works program is developed over multiple years with Hayley, our manager of strategic placemaking, to determine what is done over multiple years, but that master plan drives that. Yeah.
I just want to ask a question on the green sporting amenities. I notice on the end here there's a canteen. The whole diagram or architectural drawing looks quite large. Is there probably need on such a small area of park to have a canteen on there as well? Because it's actually quite close to the shops, the little cafes and things like that. I know it'll go out for community consultation, but just thought I'd ask that question.
Yeah, so I'll go back to it. So George River Council has a suite of standardised public and sporting amenities, which you would see at most of our sites. They all look the same. That's what we try to do. So the green was identified as a type 13 specifically. That's just what a type 13 looks like. We've just in the process of engaging the architect to undertake an investigation of the site. In terms of geotechnical investigations and things like that, but community consultation with sporting clubs and those sorts of things will take that into consideration. So yes, it is large, particularly compared to what's on the site now. Obviously, what's on the site doesn't meet current standards, so we would need to meet those requirements. Whether a canteen is necessary or a storeroom, that will be part of that demand analysis of who's using it. We understand the majority of the green is an overflow site. So in that sense, possibly storerooms and canteens aren't required, but we would understand that through an internal and external consultation process. Yep.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We also have a question about the green, Tom. I noticed that you said that there wasn't anything specifically going to be included for female change rooms in this particular amenity, but I thought that was the way that we're moving forward in most new amenity buildings, that there would be more specific female change room capacity. And the reason I ask that is that often there is more grant funding available for these sorts of things when you do have that sort of inclusion. Is there a particular reason? Is it because that's not warranted at that location, do you think, or what's the rationale?
Yeah, so the context for these ones, so when we say female, all the change rooms won't have urinals. they will all be cubicles. So that's standardization, but it's really on demand. So to be truly female compliant and accessible, you need 4 change rooms. So 4 change rooms is a significant bit of kit, particularly for a site that might have that demand. So we try to focus on sites that there is that broader demand for female use and also that expansion. So if you think about, you know, Olds Park or Todd Park or areas like that where there's capacity for 2 games to be played at once, which would mean you'd have a conflict if there's a female game and a male game going on and those sort of elements. But based on the fact that, as we're sort of discussing with the green, it's an overflow with those sorts of elements, it's something that probably isn't appropriate based on the scale that you got to times that by 2 if you want to get the 4 change rooms in. So yeah, that's where it will be taken into consideration when it goes through the, you know, the project review process and what we would be understanding and doing.
So just to add to that, both of those change facilities would be able to be utilised by both sexes. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry for
So they're not
clarification.
gender specific.
Yeah, full female compliance means that you have 4 change rooms to enable a male and a female game and a change, that crossover of changing. That's the only thing that makes it the fully female compliant. That is BCA, DDA compliant in that sense, but yeah, that's where I'm getting at. So apologies, there's confusion on that.
Disabled access?
With that, the ability would be to determining and confirming DDA compliance. Yes. So we suspect on that side we're going to need to incorporate new footpaths to get that. But the real issue with most of our LGA is it's hilly. So getting that 17%, the appropriate grades for that would be, but we get it as best we can. Yes. Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I probably can ask questions on each of them, but I'll limit it. Going back to the fence at Penshurst Park, obviously that is a fair way away. So when the football season kicks off again, we would be, the park would be still utilising the temporary fence arrangement, I'm guessing?
That would be my understanding, yes.
And
Yep.
when is that? When does the football season start there again? I don't think they're starting training like in the next couple of weeks, I think, but the season proper.
Catherine, I think
Through you, Mr. Luke.
I can answer it politely. I think they'll probably start training at the end of January, early February at that side, and then football season usually kicks in about April. Is that right? Like
Yeah, that's actually the season starts in
February. Okay.
They're actually increasing.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, there being none, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those in favour say no. There being none, I declare the motion carried. I now move on to item SAC 019-24, Cars Park Aquatic Facility Upgrade. Can I call for a mover and seconder?
I'll move that, thank you.
Moved by councillor Mort. Do we have a seconder?
Thank you.
Seconded by councillor Lansbury. Can the manager of City Technical Services, once again Tom Heath, please provide a presentation on this item?
So yeah, me again. This is my second one that you'll get a regular update on. It's just an update on the broader Cars Park Aquatic Facility and Cars Park Pool site. So just as an update, this is the DA execution of the demolition, remediation and landscaping of the former Cars Park Pool site. As you can see on this, we're 100% completion on all 3 stages. The site is still fenced off with its landscaping at the moment as we progress through our occupation certificate based on the DA. So we've received it was a contaminated site that needed significant remediation associated with it. So there's a lot of documentation and paperwork to complete to close that out, which one of those documents is a long-term environmental management plan and also a confirmation of the remediation action plan was executed. So that documentation is sitting with our New South Wales EPA accredited site auditor. who will sign off on that information. That information goes back to our certifier and closes the loop in terms of the DA. And at that point in time, the existing site will be opened to the community in its current status until the subsequent construction of a new aquatic facility at that site, which is obviously a resolution of council at this point in time. Well, not at this point in time, it is a resolution of council. If we talk in terms of that point, there's an existing resolution from the September 24 council meeting for an investigation into the future funding of council's proportion of future funding for an aquatic facility, and that will be going to the November council meeting. That sits with the director of BACS, business, I'm not entirely sure what I should know, businesses for corporate services. So that will identify council's contribution. So we've received correspondence from the state government, who we handed the detailed business case and design development over to in December 22, identifying that a business case has been completed. To date, I don't think we've received that business case from the state government, but we look to assist them in the development and progression of this project where they ask. That's my presentation on this one. Maybe a question on this?
Through Mr. Chair. Tom, I know that you mentioned that it's with the EPA regarding the signing off the remediation or whichever the report is. Do we have an estimated timeline for that? Because the fence seems to have been up for months, and I know it hasn't. It's probably just been weeks, but it's just there's a lot of sort of angst in the community because obviously they think the pool's not coming back, and you know I'm telling people all the time, no, it is coming back. It was part of the GA approval. We had no other option, etc. But the fact that the fence is still there sort of seems crazy that it's turfed, landscaped gazebos, and it seems to have been weeks. Do you know when we may get to utilise the space?
Yeah, so it's been 3 to 4 weeks since we reopened the site. So the hoarding was on the former pool site since 2019, I think. So that is a period of time. So just for clarification, it's an EPA accredited site auditor, so they don't actually work for the EPA, but you have to be appropriately qualified and registered to do that. So they're an external consultant that does that work. They're sitting on that at the moment. It generally takes 2 to 3, 4 weeks, depending on the quality of that documentation. We've had feedback from them that there's a couple of things that they want to see from the contractor. So we're in that back and forwards period of time for that. Once that's done, it goes to the certifier, and yeah, we're in that paperworky sort of period of time at the moment. So there's appreciation that the fencing is there and it's open space, and open space should just be open to the community. But based on the fact we don't have an occupation certificate, council has a responsibility to keep the site closed. So we've provided a media release previously when that all occurred, and we'll continue to keep the community updated as that changes and progresses.
Do we have something on the website about it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Can we put some pressure on them? Because I noticed last week I think it might have been Sunday, the winds were quite strong, and some cyclone fences have blown off over near Todd Park on one of the sites over there, which could easily happen down at Cars Park. Can we put pressure on them to get those certificates?
Constantly doing that. Yeah, that's my role and my team's role to ensure that continues. So trust me, I would like to see the fencing down as soon as possible, because that closes me out of this loop at the moment. But yeah, we on a weekly basis and a daily basis we're communicating with the consultants to get that feedback. It's a similar process for all our projects. We have weekly meetings with all of our contractors for every project that we do to ensure that we're progressing in a timely manner. So yes.
It's just that it becomes a bit dangerous with people using the car park and kiddies running around. So I'd like to see that opened up.
Yeah, most of the cyclone fencing that does fall down, we've ensured that it's appropriately, and we continue to monitor that on a weekly basis. But most of the cyclone fencing that fell down during that period of time had the shade sail on it, which created more of a sail factor. But yes, we are aware of that. But we thought it was a better improvement to open that car park up to the community for broader use, particularly coming into summer. It is my expectation and desire that it's open by Christmas to the community, noting that we have multiple events through that Christmas period. Yeah.
Sorry, Tom, just a question about the aquatic centre. Is the state government going to give council any input on the design of the centre that's going to be put there?
Good question.
Yeah.
We would be suggesting that we would form part of a project control group in some shape or form. So we'd be recommending that council and council officers would have a seat at that table as well.
I asked this question because the pool that they built at Green Square, I don't know how much input my association had in that design, and it wasn't quite suitable for all. So hopefully this centre gets input from people from associated with swimming, so that the complex it puts there covers everybody. So,
Mark, we'd be suggesting that not only council had representation, but more broadly, there was representation from the likes of yourselves that are actually swimmers, but also operators. We would want operators involved in that as well. So there are a number of different aspects of running a facility that we'd like to cover off up front rather than being left holding the bag at the end.
yeah, I'd very much like to be part of that if the opportunity comes. So, thanks.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, there being none, I'll put that motion for a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? There being none, I declare the motion carried. Next item on the agenda is SAC 020-24, Premium Facilities Update. Can I call for a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Mort. Do I have a seconder? Just press your.
Yeah.
Yep. Seconded by Sean Broyer. Can the manager of Premium Facilities, Luke Collin, please provide a presentation on this item?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. This is an update just on two items around Premium Facilities. One being the basketball infrastructure at the Hurstville Aquatic Leisure Centre, and the other being the plan of management and master plan that has been commissioned, and that process has begun in regard to the Jubilee, Nesrata Jubilee Stadium and Precinct. As far as the master plan, I've outlined basically a bit of a timeline on where we're actually at with the consultants. The internal consultation commenced in May this year and in June, and community drop-in sessions were conducted in addition to stakeholder engagement meetings with sporting and community groups in the form of roundtable workshops taking place in July 2024. There's also been an opportunity for community feedback on Council's Have Your Say webpage. Council's Aboriginal Advisory Committee have been consulted in workshops in July and August 2024, and further consultation with the newly elected council will take place prior to developing a draft master plan, a plan of management to be approved by council and Crown Lands. With a plan of management, it's worth noting that there is quite an extended period of time that the plan of management sits with Crown Lands before it is approved and comes back to council for public exhibition. So a bit of a process, but it's being started, and it will establish, as part of the master plan, some high-level areas of development of the actual stadium itself, and addressing amenities and DDA compliance, etc. And the plan of management really establishes what the uses of the precinct will be, including the stadium. In regard to the basketball infrastructure at Hurstville Aquatic Leisure Centre in the actual stadium area there, the indoor courts, it's come to council's attention that the equipment there really needed an upgrade, in particular certain elements of the equipment. The first stage of that input has been the installation of court separated nets, which have been installed. It's been a bit of a delay because of the lead time for a lot of this sporting equipment. It's quite extensive. I think that particular piece of equipment was around 12 weeks actual lead time before we could actually install, but they're installed now. And the next steps, we're in the procurement process at the moment of procuring the new basketball rings and backboards, and also the infrastructure that actually raises and lowers those particular pieces of equipment. If you can imagine that that equipment that's existing at the moment is probably close to 15 years old, and this new equipment will certainly be a lot more efficient for the operator, as in St George Basketball, for getting those courts ready for play. The only other thing we're going to look at the same time in respect of infrastructure is going to be the actual operation of the scoreboards, which we're looking into at the moment. Once we've done all of that work, then we'll go about actually sanding and resurfacing all the course surfaces, because you wouldn't bring equipment in to install all of that equipment prior to the sanding and resealing work, because you'd be affecting the actual surface of basketball courts. So that's where we're at as far as some of the things that have been happening in premium facilities to bring to the attention of the committee. Were there any questions?
There are no questions, is that correct? Okay. I'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? There being none, I declare the motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Luke. I now move on to the next item on the agenda, SAC 021-24, being the Council Sporting Facilities Audit. Can I call for a mover and seconder for this motion? Moved by Councillor Landry. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mort. Can the Coordinator of Programming and Operations, Andrew Williams, please provide a presentation on this item?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. So this report gives an overview of the following audits that Council is currently undertaking. These are the shared use of canteen facilities, Lux lighting at sports fields, and keys for sporting facilities. A bit of background on this. So on 22nd of April this year, Council endorsed the Georges River Community Infrastructure Needs Assessment and Acquisition Area Strategy, better known as the SINES. The SINES provides a high-level direction for the provision of community centres, libraries, open space, sport and recreation facilities, athletics and aquatic facilities within the Georges River local government area. SINES also builds on the previous 2019 open space, recreation and community facility strategy, with updated benchmarks from the 2021 census and growth rates, nominates existing and future supply and gaps in supply, and identifies target areas for investigation to meet demand through to 2036. So in the report there, we have the supply gaps as identified in table number 1, I won't go through these now, but feel free to go through those supply gaps. And as an element to address the identified 2036 supply gaps, the SINES strategy provides some high-level summary of recommended actions in relation to sport and recreation facilities, and they're outlined in Table 2 within the report. So following those high-level summary of recommended actions from the strategy, we're currently undertaking the following audits. So as I previously mentioned, shared use of canteen facilities, lux lighting at sports fields, and keys for sporting facilities as well. And these audits also address several goals within the Georges River Community Strategic Plan, or the Plan 2022 to 2032. These include pillar number 1, goal 1.2, diverse, vibrant community hubs and facilities are connected, well maintained and have equitable access. Pillar 4, goal 4.4, everyone has access to quality parks and open space and passive recreation facilities. And also pillar 4, goal 4.5, council-led development and assets provide quality long-term benefits for everyone. So in relation to an update on the audits, so with the shared canteen facilities, so council has 26 sporting amenities located on council sports fields. Within those, there's 23 amenities that have canteen facilities. Of the 26 facilities, there's a further potential for 20 of those existing canteens to be reconfigured to allow for co-location. So this supports action G2 of the SINES, which is expand existing facilities where possible, and action G3, which is complete fitness for purpose analysis of existing assets. So of the 26 sporting amenities buildings that contain the canteen facilities, there's been identified 13 canteens that are in demand for shared use with other user groups of those sports fields. So the purpose for co-location is to cater to increase demand of council's existing facilities for all user groups of our sports fields. Demand has been identified by way of ongoing requests for use of canteen facilities from a minimum of 5 sporting groups who utilise several of council sporting fields throughout the Georges River LGA, as well as school utilisation as well of the sports fields for their school carnivals, etc. So council officers will engage with the sporting organisations and clubs associated with the 14 existing suitable canteens that are potential for co-location to ascertain impact and how these facilities can be reconfigured for shared use in the future. I'll hand you over to Hayley with an update on the Lux lighting audit.
So hi everyone, my name's Hayley, so I'm the Manager of Strategic Placemaking. So what my team does is actually plan out all of the future capital works and provides some information towards the maintenance of our current infrastructure assets. So my team will be taking care of the Lux lighting review. So for the remainder of this financial year, what we will do is go out to our natural sports fields and review the Lux lighting levels at those sports facilities with the goal of coming back to this group with recommendations for which particular fields we might be able to increase the lighting so that we can start to play some games and do some training further into the evening. Okay, so we'll come back to you with some results of that.
Also within this report, we've got the key audit of our sporting facilities. So there's an increasing number that has been identified of lost or stolen sports facility keys as an issue impacting the accessibility and usability of these sporting facilities. This can lead to disruptions in training sessions, matches and community events, hindering the overall customer experience. So the purpose of the sporting facilities key audit is so that council's key asset register can be updated with current key custodians for each facility. Council is also currently recruiting for a security and emergency management officer. So this officer will work with the sporting clubs to undertake the key audit. The timeline and scope for this activity will be confirmed once the new officer has commenced. Consultation with those sporting groups that currently hold keys, which is most of you tonight, for these sporting facilities will be undertaken as well, to gather feedback on the current management practices and to identify the specific needs or concerns for your sporting club or organisation. This collaborative approach will ensure that any proposed changes align with the requirements of the sporting community and mitigate risk to council's assets as well. As I mentioned before, community engagement will be conducted as well with the sporting organisations and clubs associated with 14 of the existing canteens suitable for potential co-location to ascertain impact and how these facilities can be reconfigured for shared use. Do we have any questions?
There being no questions, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. There being none, I declare the motion carried. I now move on to the next item on the agenda, SAC 022-24, regards to park and reserve litter bins. Can I call for a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Mark Smith. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Sean Brohier. Can the Coordinator of Environmental Sustainability and Waste, Elise Ballasty, please provide a presentation on this item?
Through the chair. Hi, I'm Elise, the Coordinator of Environmental Sustainability and Waste, and tonight I'm just giving you a bit of an update on some changes that we will be making throughout parks and reserves in the LGA. There's a few reasons I'll ask you to keep in mind as I move through the presentation. Thanks, sorry, it's just cut off a little bit there. A few things I'll ask you to keep in mind as I move through the presentation and reasons for and the reasons we're making some of these upgrades. We are rolling out all new bins throughout the whole LGA, so every user of the council waste service will receive a new bin commencing in March until around July next year. That means that all the bins in in parks and reserves will also be upgraded. Our goal is to increase recycling and reduce waste to landfill. We're also keen to continually maintain and upgrade and improve the presentation of bins and waste throughout the LGA. As part of the bin rollout, we will be individually identifying and labelling each new bin that we do roll out so that we can better identify them moving forward. And it's also a goal of ours to reduce bin theft. So as you can see in some of those images there, we've got lots of bins that are loose, they're not contained in a storage area, or they're not secured to a bin stand. So ripe for bin theft there from anyone, any user of a waste service. Here's just a few images that we've captured during the course of the year, some of the issues that we're seeing at parks and reserves throughout the LGA, and I'm sure you'll be equally as shocked and horrified with some of these. Definitely not what we're working towards by providing a sustainable waste service. We want to avoid litter, we want to avoid any potential impacts or negative impacts to the environment, and we want to ensure that we have clean, neat and safe parks and reserves throughout the LGA and ensure sustainable waste management. Here's a few examples of what we're working towards. You'll see that each bin is securely contained and locked on a bin stand. They could be a single bin on a single stand or double bins on a double stand. And there's also an example of a bin secured within a bin surround as well. We only have surrounds at a few locations throughout the LGA, so most commonly you'll see bins on stands. This is what we're working towards as part of our upgrade program, and we are following the lead of the Inner West Council and Canada Bay Council, who are have recently implemented a similar program to what we will be doing, which is ensuring that all bins are locked on stands moving forward. I'll run through site by site. Oh, sorry, the bottom half of the presentation is unfortunately cut off there. We do have a coding system, so sorry about that. You won't be able to see that, but I'll try to explain anyway. At the Quarry Reserve, we're not proposing any new bins being installed, so we are comfortable with the number of bins that are available at that site at the moment. And evidence shows that collection frequencies and the number of bins there are appropriate for that site and they're used by the community. Sorry about that presentation. Gifford Park, again, we're not proposing any new additional bins being installed. The number of bins that we do have on site there are 4, and they are appropriate based to the needs of that site and the community at that location. There are also some park upgrades scheduled for 2025, so we will look to proactively maintain and upgrade any bin stands if there are any issues with the locking mechanisms on the bin stands at all in 2025 while those park upgrades occur. The Green Reserve, again, we're not proposing any new additional bins at this location. The current bins meet the needs of the community and the users there currently. Again, some park upgrades scheduled for 2025, so any bin upgrades there are intended to coincide with the upgrade. Oatley Park, again, no additional bins being proposed at Oatley Park. There are 6 there already and they are comfortably meeting the needs of the location. Parkside Drive, we are proposing 4 additional 240-litre bins. So that's the size of your yellow lidded recycling bin if you live in the LGA. 4 new bins to meet the need there. When we last audited the site, there were no fixed bins at the location. So that will be a big, significant improvement for the site to ensure that there is no litter and we're delivering a sustainable waste service there. At Todd Park, no additional bins required at this particular site. There are currently 6 bins there that are meeting the needs of the community and the users. At Claydon Reserve, we are proposing 4 additional 240-litre bins, so same size as your yellow lid recycling bin if you live in the LGA. I will note 8 of those bins, so 8 of the 10 that will be there on site once we facilitate these installs, 8 of those will be located around the sporting fields. Evatt Park, there's currently 12 bins at this particular site. This is adequate for the needs of the site and the community users there currently. So, we're not proposing any new bins at this particular location. And again, 8 of those 12 bins are located ease of use for the sporting fields. Poulton Park, we're not proposing any new bins at this particular site. The bins are adequately spaced throughout the site and meeting the needs of the community currently. And 8 of those 12 bins are located ease of access to the sporting fields. Renown Park, not proposing any new additional bins at this particular site either. There are currently 9 bins located there and 8 of those are ease of use for the sporting fields. Beverly Hills Park, we have got 9 bins there. We'll have a total of 9 bins there once we install a further 5 bins at this site. The new installs will be towards the bottom end of the park there, or the southern end of the park. 8 of those 9 bins will be ease of access to the sporting fields. Riverwood Park, we're not proposing any new additional bins at this site. The bin numbers there currently are meeting the needs of the community, and all 8 of those bins are ease of access to the sporting fields. Cars Park Flats, we're proposing 4 new 240-litre bins, that will bring the total number of bins at that site to 13 and all evenly spaced throughout and ease of access for the whole site. Gannons Park, we're proposing an additional 4 bins that will take the total of the site to 16. Again, evenly spaced throughout the park. Olds Park, we're proposing an additional 3 bins at this particular location. That will bring the site total to 15. There are some upgrades scheduled for 2025, so the upgrade of the bin stands will coincide with the upgrades of the park. Peakhurst Park, we're proposing 2 additional 240-litre bins. That will take the total number at the site to 16, and 14 of those 16 are ease of access to the sporting fields and space throughout the site. What we're going to do next, so we will be writing to all the sporting groups in the LGA just to confirm the site-by-site updates and upgrades that will happen at each particular park and reserve. Following the installation of the new additional bins that we are proposing, we will be removing any of those loose bins that are located at parks and reserves throughout the LGA, and that will ensure that all the new bins that we are progressively rolling out will be correctly branded, they will be new, they'll be in perfect condition, and we won't have any of those loose bins throughout the site that can be taken or go missing. When we do write to the sporting groups over the next 2 months, we will be letting you know about some additional services that council can offer as well. So we do also offer an event bin service that's available for any large events that might be held at a park or reserve, such as a grand final or any other events that you might be organising. You also have the option of engaging with private waste contractors if you have additional waste management needs that aren't being met by council. And it's also a good opportunity just to let you know of the Return and Earn program. It is a state government-led program where your communities can potentially fundraise some additional money through the capture of eligible containers and a refund of 10 cents through that program. We encourage you to report any issues with the bins directly to us. You can do that through council's website, through the Log It Fix It platform, and that will come into my team, and we'll be able to action that usually within the day. And we will have a work order issued to our waste collection contractor who can go out and resolve whatever the issue may be, if it's a broken bin or a missing bin. As I said, from March, we will be uniquely identifying each bin. So you can keep an eye out over the next six months. You'll see those ID numbers installed on bins progressively, and you can quote those numbers to us when you're reporting any issues. Business as usual, we routinely review our summer and winter collection frequencies, so the frequency with which any bin in a park and reserve is serviced and emptied. We can revise the collection frequency as needed. So again, if you feel like there's bins in the parks and they're not being emptied frequently enough, by all means, let us know, and we're happy to review that as well. In the bottom right is an example there of what those ID stickers will start to look like as they're rolled out on bins in parks. Are there any questions?
Yes. I'm not getting down into the minutiae detail about rubbish collection, but on any given day at Olds Park, on a competition day, we can fill several of those bins quite easily throughout the day. If you're going to remove all of the loose bins, we will fill smaller bins inside, take them outside and put them into the bigger bin. But if you're going to have bins with the stands, they're not readily openable. We also get a lot of problem with people just bringing residential rubbish and toys and things, just putting them. One of those photos was Olds Park. But I just wonder about the practicality of moving all the loose bins, because we certainly use them and need them on a match day.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll address one of those parts of that question first. So with regards to residents or members of the community bringing residential or perhaps commercial waste into the parks, that's really part of what we're trying to reduce and limit. By having bins fixed on stands, it means that the lids are physically restricted. So we're trying to prevent large items being placed in those bins and filling up space for legitimate, park users. Bins in parks are designed for the capture of litter. So that's typically, smaller items, food, beverages, container, takeaway items, those sorts of things. So by having the bins locked on stands, they will physically, the intention is that they'll physically restrict residents dumping large bags of garbage in the bins. With regards to frequently filling bins from the sporting group use or a canteen perhaps, we would encourage you to consider perhaps some of those other services that we do offer. So it could be an event bin service, it could be engaging with a private waste contractor who may be able to provide larger bins if you do require it, say for the operation of a canteen, if you've got really large cardboard boxes, for example, that can't be contained within the litter bins. There are some revenue generating opportunities there as well for sporting groups to consider specific recycling with private waste contractors. Yeah.
Question about locations, again, at Olds, but our athletics clubhouse where the canteen, there's no bins located where we commonly put that in front of the canteen, which then directs people to put them rather than walking great distances. So any opportunity to review the locations.
We're sorry, did you say Olds Park?
Yeah.
I'll review that, that's fine. Yep, happy to review that. And by all means, when we write to you, please, yeah, if you feel like the information we've contained in the letter doesn't address that need, let us know. Thanks.
Just in relation to Oakley Park, I note that you identified the sporting field and the bins around there, but obviously Oakley Park is a much bigger place than just the sporting fields. And you've got the swing bars. On cycling, we use the well, we congregate up near Webster's Lookout. There is a bin there, but just wondering why you've only identified the sporting field rather than the total precinct.
You've raised a good point, thank you. As you've said, Oakley Park is a huge park, so we didn't have the space on the screen to outline all the bins, and this is purely focusing on how we are potentially removing loose bins from amenities blocks or access to amenities blocks and reconfiguring them through the park. So there will be no changes to bins if they haven't been indicated on in this presentation. There'll be no change, and any bins throughout other areas of the parks will remain as is.
Thanks, mate. We play out of Brookwood Park, fairly recent move up there. And I understand what you're saying about contractors and special event hirings. But we, with the rugby league up there as well, we regularly exhaust the bin facilities on a normal competition weekend. So is there any opportunity to discuss the number of bins?
At Riverwood, yes. So again, as I said, we will be writing specifically to community groups and providing more detail around the individual upgrades of each particular location. So happy to discuss further. The other thing I will add is that we also have the opportunity to review collection frequencies. So while there may be issues, particularly over weekends or particular days of the week, we can review that as well. Perhaps they're not being serviced daily, so there is an option for us to increase the servicing frequency as well to help with mid-event or mid-weekend collections.
We do have a problem with missed collections too regularly, yeah.
Yeah, that's also something we're working on with the waste collection contractor. So by identifying each bin, we'll be able to better manage any missed services and hold the contractor to account for that too.
Can the sporting groups possibly give a schedule of their major gala events and big open days that council can actually lock in from the start of the year?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's the option of the event bin service as well, which is fully customizable. So you know, if there's a one-off event that a sporting group is holding, that service is available as well. So yes.
Thank you, Elise, for that presentation. Are there any further questions? Okay, there being none, I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? Being none, I declare the motion carried. We now move on to the final item on the agenda today, being general business. The Coordinator of Programming and Operations, Andrew Williams, will now provide a brief verbal update on the following general business items. First one being bookable update, the second one being the Community Strategic Plan consultation. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So in August this year, we implemented Council's new online booking system called Bookable. I think a few of you within the room today or tonight have already utilised this system with the Programming and Operations team. It was phase one, as we call it, which is parks and sporting fields. So in late January, we're going to be doing some information sessions in preparation for the expressions of interest for the 2025 winter sporting season, and we'll open those EOIs for the winter sporting season in February. Then the sports field EOIs will be reviewed and allocated by the first week of March next year as well. There's additional information on Bookable on Council's website as well. And in December this year, we're going to be launching phase two of the Bookable system, which will incorporate Council's venues for hire, as in community centres and halls for hire, Hurstville Oval as well, those facilities, and the Penshurst Park Sporting Hub. That's all on Bookable. Are there any questions on that? Nope.
In relation to the premium facilities, I note that Hurstville Oval was not on that system. Is it on that system yet, or is it proposed to be on that system?
That's part of phase two, which will be launching on the 18th of December. Yeah. And finally, there's a review of Council's strategic plan underway at the moment. On your way out tonight, Kayla will present you, will provide you with some flyers and further information on the review of the Community Strategic Plan. We'd love for you and your organisations and members to be part of that feedback that we receive. It's quite vital in shaping the plan and making sure that we're on track for the goals over the next coming years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for that. There being no other business on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 7:12 p.m. Thank you all very much for your attendance.